Good? Yep. We'll have everybody speak from the podium. Got everybody? We got mics. Yep. All right, real quick, just make sure everybody's on the same page. For questions, if you guys can make sure you raise your hand, we'll get a mic to you just like we do for our normal press conferences. Different from that, please introduce yourself and let us know what outlet you're with. Coach remembers some faces, but not all of them. So please introduce yourself before you ask any questions. Order will be Hunter will come up, make an opening statement, and then we'll have Coach Pittman come up, have a statement, and answer questions, and we'll let him go. He's got some hands to shake, and then we'll have questions for Hunter. All right, without any further ado, Hunter.
Well, good afternoon. Obviously, it'd be an understatement for me to say I'm relieved that this process has come to an extremely successful conclusion. As I said earlier, I set out with no specific timetable to find a coach who could bring back the tradition of our football program. It is a football program that has an incredible tradition when you look at the fact that we've won a national championship into 42 bowl games, 13 conference championships. It's time for our football program to no longer be at the bottom of the Southeastern Conference, and I think we have found the right man to do that. It was my goal to find somebody that was a relentless recruiter. And I think if you do your research, you will find that Sam Pittman is known across the Southeastern Conference and across this country as a relentless recruiter. And that's one of the things that's going to help us turn this program around. Not only is he a relentless recruiter, he understands how to recruit within the Southeastern Conference. And that is not an easy task. That's something where you really have to get in the trenches, and you got to understand what you're doing. You got to understand the types of student athletes that you need to pursue that are going to turn this around. The other place we really have to improve, if you watch their football program, is in the trenches. And we needed a coach that understood how to win a football game in the trenches. Sam Pittman has proven he knows how to win football games in the trenches on both sides of the ball and how to develop a tough football team. And I think that's what you're going to get from a football team at the University of Arkansas led by Sam Pittman is a tough football team. And that third criteria is I wanted somebody that wanted to be at the University of Arkansas. Not someone just wanted a job as a head football coach in the Southeastern Conference. That's important, but I wanted somebody that wanted to be at the University of Arkansas. And when I offered him that job yesterday and he broke down in tears and his wife broke down in tears, I understood how important this job was to him, how important this football program was to him, and how important this entire state was to him. And I can't tell you how reassuring that is as a director of athletics to turn your football program over to somebody that wants to be here and wants to see this program successful. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce to you, members of the media, our new head football coach, Sam Pittman. And apparently we've got to take a picture up here, Coach.
Okay.
Away from the microphone because that doesn't work. Right here.
All right, we'll wait. Hello, everybody. I'm honored to be here, honored to be the head football coach at the University of Arkansas. I want to thank Hunter for allowing that to happen and several others, along with Chancellor Steinmetz. The only way I know how to fix something is to go to work. And I believe that you can recruit, and in recruiting, you're going to have to recruit your team that you have now. You're going to have to recruit them to believe in what you're trying to get accomplished. You have to recruit the people that are going to come in to be part of the next team. You have to recruit coaches to come in. You know, since I got the job, I had over 400 or 500 text messages, and of those text messages, there's a lot of people in America that think about the Arkansas Razorbacks same way I do. And you might be shocked, you might not, to see some of the coaches that want to come here and be a part of Arkansas football and where they're at right now, and not unemployed, but great programs around the country. I've kind of always felt that way about Arkansas ever since I was a kid. And I want to tell you something. You guys were really good to me when I was here last time. You let me take my shoes off when I wanted to. Sometimes I'd take my socks off too, but y'all didn't seem to mind. You was good to me. I understand you're going to report like you need to report. I understand that too. But I'm going to go to work. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to hire a good football staff. We're trying to get them in as fast as we can. But to say I'm proud to be the head coach at Arkansas is an understatement. So with that said, I figure y'all ask some questions for me.
Hey, Sam, Tom Murphy, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. You spoke in the room over there a little bit about style, but what can you say about the offensive philosophy you want to run? And we know you can recruit the big guys, but you got Traylon Burks, Trey Knox, pretty boys. How are those guys going to operate this year?
Well, you know, if you look at the RPO game with the ability for your quarterback to run and or throw, you know, nowadays, if you get big, if you're going 12 plus, you go 12, 22, 21 plus in this league, you better have the real deal now, because they're going to have guys with 320, 330 pounds on the other side. So I'm not telling you that the philosophy has gone to spread, because that's a lie. But I think you do have to have an edge covered. But I don't think you can just turn around down and hand the ball off to the tailback and say, hey, let's go sick them. You might be able to do it in the third and fourth quarter. But so what we want is we want to be versatile. I love the RPO game. I like the quarterback read game. And I like 11, which one tight end, 3 wideouts. And I like to throw the flash screens and different things of that is into the RPO system. Again, when I was here the first time at Arkansas, we played bully ball. And it worked for us at times, and sometimes it didn't. It's like football. I think there's a time to bully people as well, but you better have the guys or you're going to try to bully somebody. So right now, it'd be more of a pin and pull, more of an RPO system, things where we can get angles in blocking and edges as fast as we can with either read style or pulling linemen to get out there.
Yeah, Pete Roulier, hogsports.com. I was just wondering if you had a chance to maybe watch film yet, and then what's your overall thoughts of what the roster that you've been left with?
Well, I watch film because at Georgia we would play, you know, teams that Arkansas would play as well. So you'd see, obviously I coached the offensive line, so I'd see Arkansas's offense, you know, and they have some. I thought we have some good skill players, and we've got overall talent. I think we're just going to have to get a little bit bigger, and but there was games like the Texas A&M game where I thought we looked pretty good. So we need to get that team out there a little bit more often and continue to work on adding to our football team. But yeah, I did see them. I did see our team, and they're like any team. Sometimes they look a little bit better than others, just like Georgia did. I don't think we looked very good at it against LSU either. So I don't know a whole lot about our football team personnel-wise, to be honest with you. other than that.
Coach Trey Biddy with hogsports.com. Welcome back, first of all.
Thank you.
So, could you go into a little bit more about like how this happened? Did you reach out? Did Hunter reach out to you? I know that there were some players that wrote a letter also. How did this come together?
Well, I didn't know Hunter, and if I'd had his phone number, I'd just called him. But nobody'd give it to me, so. No, I didn't know him, and I figured that I knew a lot of people here, and so I tried to get people to him. And then Judy Henry, my agent out of Little Rock, she tried to get to Hunter, and then the process just happened through Sunday. I mean, it's that simple. And then had an interview and talked before, and I don't know. I convinced him. It was awesome.
Hey, Coach, congrats. JB92 won the ticket. How are you?
Thank you.
So, biggest question for me, I guess, would be you talked a little bit there a few minutes ago about watching the program struggle and keeping an eye on it. And obviously that was, I'm sure, emotional for you from afar. What are a couple of the biggest things you think you can do right away to get the momentum going for this program again?
We can breathe confidence, belief, work ethic from us as a staff, communication to our players. And you ever seen a program that was pretty good, not too bad, and then they started listening to Twitter or looking at Twitter and listening to the TV, and the next day you know they go like this. Same way we're recruiting. It's the same thing. Look, you can't be any good at anything if you don't believe you are. I mean, you can't. And we have to breathe life into – it's not that drastic. I don't mean that. But we have to hire a staff that believes in our players in the program. And then we all go out there and communicate to our players. And it's about hard work. It's about toughness. It's about all these things. But the number one thing we had to do is get our players to believe that we can go win as a group. And the only way that's going to happen is if we show them we believe in them. And hopefully last night we showed that to start with.
Coach Pittman, this is Otis from Hogville and Pig Trail Nation, man.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Talk about, I know you're up against it with the early signing period
Yeah.
and recruiting stuff. When do you start the in-home visits, and just how much of a staff can you think you have in place by the weekend stuff?
You know, I talked to Hunter about some of those things too. I think we can get in a home as soon as tonight. But the other thing about that is the staff. I'm gonna have, I don't know how many, a few before the end of the week. It's more important to me that we try to get some of these kids that are committed to us, and then make sure that we're right on who we hire here. And we can get people right now. It's just, how do you know if they're the best if you're not talking to 2 or 3 of them to figure out who you really want to hire? It's not a deal where you're saying, oh, I'd like to have this old boy, and he turns you down to go to Panic City. That ain't – we just go to Plan 1 at the 1 AAA. It doesn't matter. We've got a good list of coaches. But right now I've been pretty busy, you know, other than having time to talk to them. And we were busy before Hunter, before the University of Arkansas gave me the job, very busy. And where people were off that week, we weren't. You know, we were getting ready for the SEC championship game. So I'm not going to tell you I'm behind by any stretch with the hiring of the staff, but I'm pretty cautious because I know after Saturday it goes dead again.
Sam, Nate Allen, the Nate Allen Sports Service.
Yes, sir.
And I was wondering if you've talked to Barry Lunny and kind of what his future would be with your staff, and also if you talked like to the strength coach staff, and what do you plan to do about it?
I heard the first part.
The second was like Tremaine Carroll and the strength coach. Do you plan to bring in your own, or what's your plan on that?
Well, I haven't talked to the strength coach yet, and so I don't want to comment any further on that one. And I would prefer that you maybe talk to Barry about what his feelings are. Barry and I are really good friends and have been for a long time. I have high respect for him as a man and as a football coach.
Hey, Sam, Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. You can take your shoes off if you want to, whatever makes you feel comfortable. Hey, you've been an offensive line coach, a great offensive line coach for a long time, but it's not often that offensive line coaches get head coaching jobs in the SEC. Were you wondering if this opportunity would ever come? How long have you wanted to be a head coach and to get it here? I mean, what does that mean to you?
I will say, I like that question, by the way. Again, it's kind of amazing to me that all us old line coaches kind of hang together, you know. So when I got the job, I had a bunch of those 500 texts were from guys in the Big 12, guys in the SEC saying, finally, one of us broke through to get a head coaching job. And they were so excited about it. When did I the head coaching part of it, I'll be honest with you, there's something inside of me that just wants to be the best, driven at the best of what I do. And so I was comfortable being an offensive line coach because I was driven to try to continue to be a good offensive line coach. And there's a lot of work in that. But I was a head coach a long time ago in high school, to a couple high schools and a JUCO, and I enjoyed it. But when this came open, I felt like I was ready for the job, and so that's why I pursued it. There were some other jobs out there when I was a little bit younger, head coaching jobs that had a little bit of interest in me, but I just didn't feel like I was ready to be a head coach, and I do now, certainly.
Demetrius Johnson on the Hill Sports Talk. You seem to be very honest and open and transparent. Could you take us in kind of the conversation you had with the players and what was the energy like in response? Like when you
yes, sir. Thank you. I told them that they didn't choose me, but I sure as hell chose them. That I wanted to be here. I think they felt it. That we have a lot of work to do. That I was going to, and I did. I took my phone, I put it up, and I said, this phone is blowing up about people that want to come and join us. Not me, the people in that room. My phone blowing up because people want to be a part of us. And I thought that was a really good feeling for me because sometimes folks may not think Arkansas or may think Arkansas has had a little bit of hard time, and maybe we have, but that was before. And I know a lot of people more than just in our room think we can get this thing turned, and so we're certainly going to work hard at it. But I told them it was going to be a tough team, a disciplined team, that I told them we need to finish strong at the end of the year in academics, and I just told them how grateful and thankful I was to be their head coach, and that we'd communicate, and I wanted them to come see me. And I don't know if I'm a player's coach. I don't know what that means. You write it down. I really don't know what that means. player coach, a guy that communicates with his players, then I'm a player's coach. But I don't want things festering. So I told him. But I was just told him how grateful I was to be with him.
Drew Ammon from the NBC in Fayetteville. Welcome back, Coach.
How you doing, man?
Doing great. Hey, I had a question about just obviously your love for Arkansas,
Yeah.
and if you could expand on the fact that you mentioned up there your conversation with your wife and how she was the first 6-star you ever recruited.
Man.
What were your
I
conversations
shorted
like
a
with her?
star. Huh?
What were your conversations like with her about coming back here potentially
Oh, my
and how it all
Lord.
played out?
Well, I went from the doghouse to the penthouse pretty fast. You know, Jamie's from Pittsburgh, Kansas, and we did not get a divorce when we left Arkansas for a year, but she did not talk to me for a year when I was in Athens. She just loved Arkansas. She was like me, and when the opportunity came to come back, she was ecstatic, and she's still that way, and honestly, so am I. But it's hard to explain the passion that you have for a program, and it's a lot easier to show it. And when I was up there, nobody wants to cry or tear up or anything else, but man, if that's how you feel about it, then more power to it. And that's how I feel, and that's how she feels. So I don't know. I always just been a Razorback. I think it has something to do with family in Russellville and loving the Hogs and sending us sympathy cards when they won the Orange Bowl and beat OU and all that kind of stuff. You know, it wouldn't affected me. I was Arkansas fan, but still, it's been that way. You know what it really is? It's the people. People of the state. You ever been any place like it in your life? There ain't nothing like Arkansas. It's the people. So who don't want to be a part of it? I do. So did Jamie.
Yeah, Sam, the reality of this is 2 back-to-back 10-loss seasons and 19 SEC losses in a row. How daunting is the task in front of you?
Oh, I don't know. We don't have a whole lot to do with that, to be honest with you. If I didn't think we could put out a good product out on that field, then I wouldn't have come to Arkansas. It's going to be a challenge, but Kirby and them got a challenge at Georgia too. I mean, challenge is a challenge, and we got a ways to go, but we're going to work at it. We're going to go after it.
And Grant Hall from Hog Radio. Coach Pittman, what was your first exposure to the game of football, and what about it did you love?
Well, are you talking about real playing or back in a yard? My brother had a Los Angeles Rams helmet, and we were in the backyard, and my brother's 9 years older than me, and I think I was about 5. And he'd punt it to me and then comes, knock me out. And I don't know why I thought that was fun, but it seemed to be that way. And then I started playing football in 6th grade, 5th grade. And I was a fullback back then. I was built a little bit better then, 6th grade. And I got hit coming out in the flat. Guy knocked the air out of me. And that'd be the end of that. And I went to O-line, but I had one of the greatest high school coaches ever in Charlie Cooper at Grove, Oklahoma. He taught me a whole lot more than football. Tell you what he taught me. He taught me that I can take my mind and my body much further than I ever thought I could. And made you tough. And he was great about that. And at the time, I don't think we appreciated him as much as we do now. And I called him and I told him how much I love him, how much I care about him, just simply because there's a lot of things that I probably would think tough now that really I don't, because my high school football coach.
Sammy, what's your timetable for getting some of the staff hired and completing the staff? And how satisfied are you with the salary pool? I assume you and Hunter have discussed.
We have.
what you
I'm
can pay
very
these guys.
satisfied. I'm sorry. Are you through? I'm sorry. God dang. God dang.
Go ahead and answer that one.
Okay. First one is I'm very comfortable with the salary pool, and I think we can do what we need with that salary. And then what else you ask me?
Well, listen, the follow-up, the first part was, what's your timetable for getting some of the staff hired to help you recruit? And then what's your timetable for getting the staff completed?
We're going to have some of the staff as early as today, tomorrow, and then I don't really have a timetable for. It would be nice to have some more people in here, so maybe we can get another guy or two, maybe get to 4, 5, 6 guys on the staff by the end of the week. But some of them still coaching, and then. So we just got, we had to figure it out a little bit. But we have to have enough to go recruiting, and have to have enough to keep the guys we have. And if we can keep the guys we have, then we're going to have to get full-fledged, ready to go, and have a heck of a second signing day. That's just reality. And so let's go get it. Let's go get the best ones left. And that's what we're going to try to do.
79, I think that's 40 years ago. I never was very good at math. But what led you to come over here to camp? And could you ever imagine 40 years later you'd be the head coach here?
No. I mean, who could? Especially whenever I was running that 4.8 out there, and they were like, hey, Pittman, you go over to this line right here. That's the line where they ain't going to look at you no more. So like, okay, here, you go over here. You go, you over there. And there I sat. Me and this other dude over there. But we ain't never getting looked at. So why I loved it, I don't know. No, I don't know. I came over here in 79. We're just 75 miles from there. And Lou Holtz was the man. I'll be honest with you. We skipped the OU Arkansas highlight film that night. Me and 2 of my friends. And we in our room, promise you. Hey, what the hell, Lou Holtz. And he said, man, if we have a function, you boys are supposed to be at the function. Man, I'm nervous. That's probably why I didn't get a scholarship, because I missed a meeting. It wasn't about my talent. But I should have not missed that meeting, man. Be a legend on the field at Arkansas. But no, it's crazy. Shoot, no, you never would have imagined all that. You never would. But in my heart, I'm ready to be the head coach at Arkansas. I mean, I am. Feel good about it. I need some guys around me. I have a wonderful athletic director. He's been very, very good to me in the last 2 days and everything that I've asked.
Sam, as far as the defensive side of the ball, just kind of what kind of defense you want to run, and what are you looking for as far as a defensive coordinator?
I like an aggressive defense, but I like the fact that when they're in big, we're in big. In other words, I like what we called before it meant. In other words, it's an odd 4-eye deal. It's this far from bare. And when they go big, right now it's kind of the trend in the SEC for guys to go odd inside shades on the tackles. But the bottom line is you can't double team them. And I like that. The University of Georgia plays that kind of ball. And then, they talk about wreaking havoc. If you stand still in this league, you're going to be in trouble. So you have to have some type of movement, some type of disguise, some type of late disguise. But to be honest with you, trends come and go. And if you're an odd front and you're a fire zone team, that has come and it has gone because people have answers for it. And so right now, The new thing is, which I like, is what we call the heavy front, where it's a shade 4-eye, 3 and a 5. And all we really ever got last year is some type of one coverage so they could put another guy in the box. I like that, but you're going to have corners and safeties. And if you can do that, man, you can make it hard on the team, because now your extra runner as a quarterback has a defender responsible for him. So I want to be aggressive. I do want to move, but the two gap systems of things are almost a thing of, not totally, but kind of a thing of past now a little bit.
Richard Davenport, Arkansas Democrat. Is that welcome back, Coach?
Hello, Richard.
Talk about the difference between being an assistant and recruiting, now being the head coach and recruiting. Obviously, you're probably more of a closer, I would assume. But how do you what's going to be the big difference, or will there be much of a difference?
Yeah, I think it'll be different, Richard. I was on the phone with kids today. This morning we got up and visited and coaches in the state of Arkansas. I think the difference is I'm not, me personally, it's going to be hard for me to have the relationships with these kids as closely as I did if I'm it only makes sense. If I can go out 7 times and the head coach can go out 1 time, someone should have a better relationship, should know the family better. Now, there's always phone and text messages and all that, and we'll certainly do a lot of that. But I would think I'm going to lose a little bit of that. What you try to do in recruiting is you try to get so tight to them they can't tell you no. That's the bottom line. So, yeah, I might lose a little bit of that, but that's all right. I'm going to hire great coaches that can get them on campus, and the more you get them on, the better we're going to be. But, yeah, I think it'll affect a little bit. I do.
Coach Clay Henry, Hogs Illustrated.
Clay.
You just touched on a little bit of this, but the difference between being an assistant coach and a head coach, and what's your role do you see, and to be able to instill toughness and practice, and what type of practices will you have?
Well, they're going to be physical. They're going to be fast. There's going to be some time in there where we walk through some situations. There are a lot of ways to learn. But it's hard if you're not tough every day to continue to be tough. And so we have to instill fight and toughness in our program, and I'm not telling you it wasn't there. I'm not saying that. I'm saying my belief, our belief, is that we're a hard-working, blue-collar, tough, sick-'em football team. And the only way you can do that is go do it. Like, you want to throw the ball well, throw the ball. You want to run the ball well, practice it. You want to be tough, go be tough. We're going to pride ourselves on our toughness.
Hey, Coach. Clara Goodwin, 5 News, the CBS affiliate in Northwest Arkansas. You've mentioned a couple times that you are ready for the task of being a head coach in the SEC. How do you plan to show this fan base that you are the guy for the job despite your inexperience as a head coach position?
Well, I think by the product that we put out on the field, the recruits that we sign, the way our players communicate about the program. Every head coach that is a head coach now wasn't at some point. Maybe they were. Maybe they come out of college and go to their first job and they're the head coach. I don't know. But at some point, someone's got to trust you and believe in you. Now, let me say this, young lady. I've had coordinator jobs offered to me and in the SEC, but I didn't take them. I stayed where I was. So I have the opportunity now to be the head coach, and I think it's just the product that's going to be out there, you know, and if it's a good product, I probably doing a pretty good job, and if it's not, I'm probably not. But we're certainly going to work at it, and you know, with all my experience as far as different SEC schools and working for different people, it's been a very great thing for me to learn from things I like and things I don't, and we'll try to put them all together and be the best program that we can be.
Coach Brad Caldwell, River Valley Now, Russellville, Arkansas. Give us one message to fans about what they're going to see when they come to Razorback Stadium, and got an 80,000 seat stadium that's had about 30,000 in it. How do you fill that thing back up?
Well, I think you're going to see an excited football team. I think you're going to see one that plays hard. We represent the state of Arkansas, and I think you're going to see one that represents the state of Arkansas. And I know that our coaching staff and our administration are going to fight to get that accomplished. And then we won't see everybody in that stadium. Listen, you earn everything in life, and we want to earn the right to get them people. We want to get our people in the stands. And we know we have to earn it. By golly, we're going to go try to earn it.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
Unless you guys don't want to talk.
Listen, I'll be glad to step out.
We're gonna do it here?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, same thing. All right, same thing for Hunter. If you'll please raise your hand, we'll get a mic to you for questions, all right?
You got a question, Bob?
Go ahead, Tom.
Hey, Hunter, Tom Murphy.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, can you give us a synopsis of what the last 8 or 9 days have been like since the season ended? And, you know, Sam wasn't the first choice, but how you wound up with him.
Yeah, so, I mean, the last 8 or 9 days, really the last 2 to 3 weeks since I let Coach Morris go, I spent a number of hours on the phone talking to my colleagues around the country, talking to NFL scouts about the preparation of players from the college ranks and who does it the best, talking to other football coaches, trying to determine what our pool should look like. And so I didn't target one person as I started this search. I had a list of probably 35 to 40 3 weeks ago that through my research and the vetting of candidates narrowed that down to a working list of 12 to 15 that became even more of a working list of the people I wanted to make sure they got an opportunity to get in front of and talk to. And from there, a lot of things happen. I mean, coaching searches are difficult. They take many turns, and it's a roller coaster ride up and down. And Sam Pittman, I can tell you, he was the only one that received a letter of offer from the University of Arkansas to be their head football coach.
Hunter, that letter written by former players endorsing Coach Pittman, what effect, if any, did that have on your decision?
I never saw that letter. When the search starts, I'm off of social media. The letter that he spoke of never reached my desk. Darren McFadden called me about the letter, told me about the letter. That was my knowledge of the letter. But believe me, Coach Pittman got a number of people that did have my phone number. I don't know why they didn't give it to him. That called me on his behalf.
Hunter, what was your first introduction, or I guess when he came across your radar? Was it when Darren McFadden called you, or was it when his agent reached out to you? When was that, and at what point also did you realize that you needed to get a coach that really wanted to be at Arkansas?
Well, I've always realized I needed to get a coach that wanted to be at the University of Arkansas. I think that's very, very important in this state. But, I mean, from the time that we made a change in our leadership of our football program, people started talking to me about Sam Pittman. Obviously, he had developed quite a reputation for recruiting and offensive line play when he was here. And then I started doing some of my own research and talking to people across the country about Sam and watching him sometimes on the sidelines and trying to digest any type of videos I could of him and his enthusiasm. And then him and I visited a couple times by phone before I had a chance to officially meet him.
Hunter, what would you say were the biggest differences in the coaching search process between hiring the basketball coach and hiring the football coach just a few months ago?
I would say there was just so much more of an interest across this state and across the nation. I mean, SC football is an animal unto itself, and so I think it's just so much scrutiny on hiring for an SEC head football coaching position than there is a basketball. A lot of scrutiny, at least I thought at the time, for the basketball search, but a totally different animal. The level of interest was just off the charts compared to the basketball search.
Hunter, a couple things. One, can you be specific about what the pool is, salary pool is for the assistant coaches?
Bob, it's roughly about $5 million is what the salary pool for the assistant coaches is. And so what we do is we give coach a pool. He can divide that up however he sees fit amongst his 10 assistants. And obviously there's going to be more money most likely invested in the coordinator positions, and then he'll work his way down from there.
And then also, you said Sam cried, when you offered him the job. You've hired a lot of people. Has anybody ever cried before? What did that mean to you? And do you have any people that have reservations? They love Sam, great old line coach, but he's never been a college head coach at this level. What would you say to people to allay those, concerns?
Well, I will tell you that when I offered the job to Coach Musselman, he had the opposite reaction. He screamed and yelled and dropped the phone and was running around his house. He was so excited. So I think everybody expresses their emotions a little bit differently. I think it showed truly what that meant to Sam and Jamie to be coming back to the University of Arkansas and to be coming here as the football coach. And your second part of your question? You can just tell me. I can hear you.
It was, a lot of people say, man, Sam's a great guy, great offensive line coach, great recruiter. But he's never been a head coach beyond JUCO, and that was like 30 years ago. What would you say to people who have concerns about Sam's lack of head coaching experience?
Well, I think he touched on it. At some point in time, you've got to get that experience as a head coach. I mean, he's been in coaching for 35 years. He's been an associate head coach for 10 to 11 years. I don't have those stats right in front of me. He's been in the Southeastern Conference as associate head coach. He's, was Kirby's really right hand. He has absorbed all of that and sunk that into himself, just like the fact that I was never a director of athletics. Now, you can say that the Southeastern Conference maybe is a tough place to cut your teeth as a head coach, but I don't think Kirby Smart was a head coach before he got the job at Georgia, if my memory serves me correctly, and he's done a pretty good job there.
Hunter, as far as the passion that Sam Pittman clearly showed there for Arkansas, for the people in Arkansas, you spoke about how you knew for sure when you made the offer, his emotional reaction, you knew you had your guy. What about a moment before that, when you were talking to him, when you were getting to know him, where it just clicked for you, you knew he genuinely understood and appreciated Arkansas?
Sam, I think it probably happened when Sam and I were talking on the phone one of the first times we spoke. And, he talked about, you talk to coaches and they talk about their game plan and how they recruit and things of that nature. But he understood this state. He understood that we have a unique mascot. He understands about calling the hogs. And so simple things like that sometimes coaches, when you're interviewing them, haven't done their research on those types of things that are important to people in this state. Yeah, we want a great football coach, but we want a great football coach that understands the state and what makes this state special.
There's a lot of people nationally that have a misconception, and I think a lot of people in this room know that those people are probably confused that Arkansas is the problem, why this program hasn't been winning. Did you run into any of that, people having a misconception that Arkansas, you can't win here or anything like that when you're out on the road?
No, I think what my sales pitch to people is. We have 19 sports programs. 17 of our 19 sports programs have winning records in the past year. We've won 3 national championships, albeit all of them within our women's track and field program. That's 3 more national championships than anybody else in the SEC. Vanderbilt's won one last year in baseball, and I think Auburn may have won another one in equestrian. But we've won 3 at the University of Arkansas. Our baseball program has a top 5 recruiting class at the University of Arkansas. Our men's basketball program has a top 5 recruiting class. We have over 10 teams that have been ranked in the top 25 nationally. It can be done here at the University of Arkansas in our football program because 17 of our other sports have proven that it can be done. And so that's my sales pitch for anybody who doesn't think that our football program can be great here. We've got so many other programs that have proven that they can be great here. Our football program can be great. Of course. I mean, I think people see this as a daunting task, and some people are just not cut out for it. We're at the bottom of the toughest football conference in the country right now, and we've got to fight our way out, and you need somebody that wants to get in that trenches and fight, and not all head coaches are cut out to have that type of task, and some knew they weren't cut out for it. Some that you have to do some research and find out for yourself that they're probably not cut out for that. So absolutely it's a challenge, but it's a challenge that I think Coach Pittman is definitively up for and wants.
Hunter, how big of a factor was it, Pittman maybe presenting some candidates to you for offensive and defensive coordinator? Was that involved in process, or do you just look at his resume and maybe his connections that he has?
No, absolutely. I think when you talk about someone coming in for the first time as a head coach in the Southeastern Conference and the staff that they believe they're able to put together, which could include some former head coaches that he'll surround himself and insulate himself with, I think that's a big deal when you're talking to somebody about that.
Hunter, the buyout language on this seems to be trending toward a direction you'd like to see. Can you just talk about the negotiation there, and are you on the front line of something here?
Yeah, well, I said from day one at my press conference that I don't think that we should pay a full buyout for coaches who are not successful in the role that we hire them for. Coach Pittman is an old school football coach, and he shared that principle with me. And he had absolutely no concerns for a contract that I think provides really good protection from him. That buyout is if I let him go for convenience and he's won less than half of his games, then he gets 50% of the remaining salary. If I fire him for convenience and he's won more than 50%, he gets 75% of his remaining salary. He thought that was really fair. We've got to stop in this industry these huge buyouts of multi-million-dollar contracts that we're providing to coaches. Coaches deserve some security, but boy, we have let some coaches go. And if you look back at their Southeastern Conference records, we have paid significantly for unsuccessful tenures with head football coaches. And I was glad that Coach Pittman was willing to join me and help change that narrative. And maybe this is just the start of something across the country.
Hunter, I know you don't look at social media, but some of your staff probably do. And as the search wore on, people got tired, some got angry, but you completely flipped the narrative with Sam Pittman. I don't know if you were aware of the outpouring support for him when it was floated that he could be potentially the head coach, and how much does that help you going forward that you have a fan base right now that's behind him?
So I knew that the hiring of Sam Pittman was going to be popular, but I had no idea how popular it was going to be. And I think I said that earlier in my remarks. It is amazing how many people across this state that Sam and Jamie Pittman both touched during their short time here. I mean, 3 years, and to think of the impact that they had on people across the state. Now that he's the leader of this program, I'm excited to see the impact that he and Jamie have across this state and on our football program.
When this started, people talked about getting someone that knew, that had ties to Arkansas or something.
Sure.
But, did Sam kind of fit the deal of having not just Arkansas ties, but SEC experience and knowing what the SEC is about? Because it seems like some coaches come in that haven't coached in the SEC, they get almost overwhelmed at first.
Absolutely. He checked several boxes. I mean, first of all, the ties to the SEC and the recruiting ties to this conference. He is known throughout the country, and you can go back and look at the kids he's recruited in this conference while he was at Arkansas, at Georgia, when he's at Tennessee. He is a relentless recruiter, and it's through relationships that he builds with the young men and their families. And that is a big part of this. Is not an easy conference to recruit within. It is cutthroat, to say the least, and I think he understands that more than a coach that's never recruited in this conference may understand. And now he'll bring some coaches in here that have recruited in the SEC, some that probably haven't, but he'll be able to teach those coaches and hold them to task on that. So that was a big part of it. The other part of it is we haven't been good, quite candidly, on either side of the ball in the trenches, and we've got to improve there. And that comes through toughness, and that comes through the development of the size and the size of the athletes that we recruit. And I think he is a development of offensive linemen, and he'll help us in that area, and that's really important to our program. It's very important to the skill players, a quarterback that stands behind the center, the running backs that are running, and the receiver. We got some great receivers, but we got to be able to get them the ball because we're giving our quarterback some time to get the ball to him. And so it's a big part of. He checked many boxes for us.
Hey, Hunter, kind of through this process, a lot of names obviously popped up. Barry Lunny's over the last week. Conversations you may have had with him. I know he said God has a plan for him, and the coach touched on a little bit of base about their relationship. Do you foresee him staying around, and also how close was he to being at the podium today?
Sure, and other than Coach Pittman, Barry Lunny will be the only candidate that I will comment about in the search. But I thought Barry, during the 3 or 4 weeks that he was our interim coach, had earned the right to officially interview with myself and John for this position. And we did that last week. He did an excellent job. He did nothing but improve and enhance his stock as a potential head coach. But in the end, I thought that Coach Pittman checked more of the boxes of what I was looking for and our next head coach. As far as him being retained, I know that him and Coach Pittman met this morning, and I really think, and Coach even touched on that, it's probably a question you need to ask Coach Lunny about his tenure here as it moving forward.
Last one here in the middle.
It's really quiet during your coaching search with you, and I was interested to know how many people know what's going on throughout the course of this. You know, people make up sources or whatever, but how many people actually know what's going on from you during a coaching search?
3. And I meant 3. And I trust myself, and I trust John Fagg, my deputy AD, and I trust Steve Cox, who is on our board. So if there's any information out there that didn't come from the 3 of us, it probably had a great chance of being incorrect and inaccurate.